Hello, everyone. Welcome to Or This. This is my Monday morning quarterbacking, or should I say Thursday morning quarterbacking, of the scriptures and the sermon from the previous Sunday. This video is from Sunday, January 29th. My apologies that it is coming so late in the week. I lost my voiceover last weekend, and I've been slowly getting it back to sounding a little bit more normal. So, and also not coughing every couple seconds. So, I want to get to a review of last week's scriptures before we get into this weekend's scriptures, because we're going to be there pretty soon. So the scriptures for this past Sunday were from Micah chapter 6, verses 1 through 8, Psalm 15, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 18 to 31, and Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. I preached on the Micah passage, but they were all very good scriptures for this past Sunday. Hard to choose where to go, which direction to go. And for that matter, I even glossed over preaching on the Beatitudes from Matthew. But Micah, has that familiar last verse, and he has told you, O mortal, what is good and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. Familiar, and the whole passage itself is an interesting passage that was I couldn't pass up. But what I want to talk to you today about is the idea of these scriptures are coming to us in the season after Epiphany, and in a way continue a bit of the theme of Epiphany. The word Epiphany means revelation. Something that we didn't know about has been revealed. And when we celebrate Epiphany on the festival of Epiphany, we celebrate the revelation of Jesus to the Gentiles. We celebrate that in the journey of the wise men to visit Jesus after he was born. And so throughout these weeks between then and Lent, we are kind of have that theme of revelation and having God's presence revealed in the midst of human life. And so when I talked about the Micah verse in particular, I won't go through the whole passage to explain it. God's revealed in the midst of justice being done. Now, this isn't just justice as in like the courts ruling and deciding things, but justice being the just treatment of other human beings when other human beings are mistreated. To do justice, to love kindness. So God is revealed in the kindness that is shown in relationships with others. And to walk humbly with your God. Walking humbly means to see ourselves as not so much of the focus, not to put so much attention on ourselves, especially in relationship to God. And we will certainly see God more clearly and all that God does more clearly when we kind of step back and realize that how our efforts in life just on our own kind of fall short a lot of the time. But the ways in which God's love comes to us and enables us to do justice and to love kindness, all that God does for us, that helps us to see God more clearly, reveals that, oh, it's really God at work in my life, not me, that allows me to do what I do. And so in a humble walk with God, we see God more clearly and all that God does for us. But now I talked about Matthew being glossed over. Very important scripture from that is called, we call the Beatitudes, the blessings. It comes at the beginning of Jesus' ministry in Matthew's Gospel, so it's pretty important for setting the stage for what we will see from Jesus in his ministry going forward. But in connection with this epiphany, this revelation, in these verses, Jesus is basically revealing where God is present. Where will you see God? Where will you see God's kingdom? Well, you will see God's kingdom present with those who are poor in spirit. You'll see God's kingdom, God's presence with those who mourn. We'll see God's presence with those who are meek. We'll see God's presence with those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. And in these ways, when God is present with them, then they will experience the kingdom of heaven. They will experience comfort. They will experience, this says, inherit the earth, the meek. The world will be theirs. That's a hard one, actually, to go through to explain. They will be filled. Basically, those who are struggling a lot in life, God is with them. And with God there, God will get them through and even give them life abundant. Not in a material sense, but in the truest sense of what abundant life means. Blessed are the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers, those who are persecuted. Again, God is with people who are merciful, pure in heart, who seek peace, who struggle because they're being persecuted. This is where we will see God's presence. And that really sets the stage because it's a complete reversal of what we think about in the world. But it is to help us to see God isn't present in the places and situations where we think God is present, where everything is hunky-dory and everything's good, and in the people with who can make things happen with the spoken word. You say one thing and people move. The person who everybody knows and who controls everything. That's not where God is present. God is present with those who actually have the hardest time, who really have no control, who are struggling. And this is so different than how we normally see life. But this is how Jesus starts his ministry, with these words, with this revelation of the true presence of God, where God is truly present in this world. This sets the stage, just so you're aware, for the next couple weeks, for a large body of teaching that Jesus does, called the Sermon on the Mount. And in this teaching, Jesus lays out a lot of ways of living that are ways of living that are informed by God's ways and God's kingdom. So keep your eye out for that in the coming weeks. It doesn't just stop here, but this teaching goes on in the next couple of weeks. And it's a continuing revelation of, where do we see God in the world? How will we see God in the world? Well, if we're living and doing things that don't jive with God's ways, certainly if we ask for forgiveness, we will see God by the forgiveness we receive. But if everybody's being mean to each other and if we are just forget about the poor, they'll figure, whatever. I got other things I got to think about. If we're looking in places and doing things that are not conducive with God's ways, then how do we expect we're going to see God? So Jesus lays it out for us. Well, this is where you will see God. It's going to be with those who struggle, because that's what God's here for, is to support and help God's beloved human creation in the parts of life where we have the most trouble. And so remember these words as you look for God in the world and wonder, well, where is God? Well, God is with those who are having the hardest time. And if that's you, then God is with you. And just ask for God to help you see God present, and you will have that revelation of God's presence in your life. And we've been doing a board in our church called the God Moments Board, where we have these stars where people can come in, and if you've had a God moment where you feel God was revealed to be with you in some way, shape, or form, you could write it down on the board and put it up. And it reminds all of us that God continues to reveal God's presence with us all the time. And that encourages us to know that we are never alone. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being patient, for waiting for this to come out. Although I'm not always as prompt to get it out on Mondays as I like to be anyway. So, but thanks for watching. And if you have any comments, please feel free to share them on YouTube or on Facebook. And God bless.